If you're thinking about moving to Spain but don't quite meet the requirements for a digital nomad visa, non-lucrative visa, or entrepreneurship visa, there is another less conventional option available that may be of interest to you, which is the student visa. Spain's student visa allows non-EU nationals to come to Spain, study at a university or undertake professional training, doesn't have the high income requirements of these other visa options, and in some cases it also gives the person the chance to seek employment or professional opportunities in Spain at the end of their studies. Joining me to break down the student visa in more detail is Sabine Steinberga from Bureaucracy. Sabine is an immigration specialist at Bureaucracy, working alongside Marina, who has previously been on the channel, and her team. And in today's video, we're going to talk about what the student visa is, what it covers, who can apply for it, and what are the requirements. So I hope you enjoyed this discussion, guys. And with that said, let's get right into it. All right, Sabine, welcome to the channel. Good to have you on today.
Thank you, Jonny. It's really nice being here.
Yeah, it's great to have Bureaucracy back for another video. Obviously, many viewers will be familiar with Marina. You're one of Marina's colleagues, also working for Bureaucracy on a range of immigration cases. So with that, why don't you take a second maybe to introduce yourself to the viewers and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, yes, thank you, Jonny. My name is Sabine. I have been working with Bureaucracy now since a while already. And I am normally the first person, the first consultation that people have with us, the first meeting to give them a guidance, what would be the best route, how the process goes, the eligibility, just to kind of like explain and give an overall view on the process. So that's my job, to assist before we actually start on the visa process.
Okay, great. And so we've talked about, obviously in the past with Marina, the digital nomad visa, non-lucrative visa. There's no longer a golden visa, of course, but there is a student visa, which is available to a wide range of people. And that's obviously what we're going to discuss in detail today.
Yes.
So let's start then with what is the student visa in Spain? It kind of probably does say what it says on the tin, but I'll let you explain.
Yes, well, there is no, first of all, there is no, student visa firstly gives the side that, oh, it's for the students. But I mean, there is no age restriction. So I know there has been cases where people in their retirement want to study. So this is really made for anyone who wants to keep studying. So anyone from not Europe, citizens are allowed, and Spain has been really opening up the possibilities for the international talent. So anyone who wants to study is welcome.
Okay, yeah. And by non-Europe, we mean non-EU, EEA citizens.
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
Yes, the likes of US citizens, UK citizens would all be eligible to apply for this.
Yes, Philippines, Asia as well. We have clients all over the world.
Okay, good. Good. And what kind of activities does it cover? Does it cover, I mean, of course, kind of university studies, but what about things like short courses, maybe internships, traineeships? What range of study or training, vocational activity does the visa cover?
In general, now it's divided in two. So there are higher education studies, which are universities, PhD, master's degrees. And then there are lower education studies, which is vocational courses, as you mentioned, language courses, which is very, a lot of people are interested in studying a language, Spanish language. So yeah, typically the higher education and then the lower education, language, vocational, some short-term training as well. But we must think that these schools that we want to apply are registered and approved by Spanish government. So there are two web pages. Those are governmental entities that you could check whether or not your intended school is approved for this visa, because not all of them are approved. There are specific things that we need to see before.
Okay, so this is something important for someone to check before applying for a student visa or looking to get help with a student visa.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. So you mentioned before there are even retirees that look for a student visa to come to Spain. What kind of people are applying for this, or what cases have you seen, and what are they looking to study or do in Spain under a student visa?
Well, in general, we have seen all types of ages, for example. So there are obviously the students that we think the first thing that we think about young people who have maybe finalized their universities and they want to keep studying their careers, but then they just want also at the same time want to spend their time in Spain, not in their home country, and to enjoy the new culture. Also, a lot of families with the same similar background, maybe a bit older, between their 30s and 40s, where they want to learn maybe the language, maybe also to just have an extra education while living abroad. And then in general, very as I mentioned, a lot of people just maybe wanting to learn the language and the culture at the same time.
Okay, yeah. So could something like, for example, if you're doing a course with the Instituto Cervantes, which is very famous here in Spain, could that fall under the scope of a visa?
Definitely, yes. That is one of that is very important. You could check there and see whether or not there's something you're interested in studying. Yes.
Okay, great. Really interesting. So to be able to apply for a student visa, like all other visa types, there are requirements. I believe there are some minimum income requirements as well. As we talked about, your university will have to be approved. Can you tell us a bit more about what the specific requirements are that someone would need to meet to be eligible?
Yes, and this is important to highlight as well, that there is a really big difference. And recently, by the law, this was more structured. So there's a difference between the lower educational courses and the higher educational courses. So maybe the higher educational courses are still the same as there were before. So you can apply either from your home country or even from within Spain. And the requirements, well, typical requirements are to start obtaining the visa is actually to have this acceptance letter in the specific school. Then you must have the financial means. And this is important because for the higher educational courses, they still allow you to bring family members. So depending on how big of a family you are, the financial means will obviously increase. But for a main applicant, it goes around 700 euros. Then if the family comes along, we should increase this by at least 500 euros per person. However, if we think about the lower educational courses, unfortunately, there's no more. They don't allow you to bring family members anymore. So the first filter would be to decide which studies we want to follow, and then starting from there are some different requirements. Okay, we would also need the private health insurance in both cases. Obviously, valid passport for at least a year. Criminal check if the studies are longer time. If it's longer than 6 months, then we need the criminal check. If there's only short-term studies, then there's no need. Okay, and then the rest, well, the forms and all of those things. But those would be the main things that we need to think about.
Okay, and that's 700 euros per month, I imagine.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so not quite the requirements of the Digital Nomad Visa or NLV. Is someone allowed to work on a student visa while they're in Spain?
If you are studying higher educational courses, then you are allowed to work without any work permit. You don't have to do anything else. So on a higher education, you are allowed to work up on 30 hours a week, as you need to still focus on your studies, so it can't interfere. However, in the lower educational courses, you should get additional work permit to be able to work.
Okay, yeah, because I know there's been cases I've had people ask me before, if I want to have a side hustle or, do something on the side, like whilst I'm studying, do I need to sign up as an autonomo or can I go and work in, I don't know, a restaurant, wherever it may be. So under the higher education, that would be possible, but under the lower level education, it would be an additional authorization, essentially.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Very good. And obviously people who do come to study in Spain, some of them perhaps a lot of them may want to stay in the country long term afterwards to seek employment or career opportunities after. Does the student visa allow them a grace period at the end of their studies to seek employment? And on what terms would that be?
Well, again, here for the higher educational courses, there you could change your visa to work permit to job seeker visa as well. And the job seeker visa is especially for higher education graduates, okay? But then on lower educational courses, you still could look into an entrepreneur visa or the highly qualified visa, highly qualified position visa, if you have the requirements in before.
Okay, I see. So let's take the higher education example. So obviously, with Spain being in the EU, there's kind of a rule where, Spanish and EU or EEA nationals get priority. Does that still apply with people who are on a job seeker visa, or are they entitled to be on equal footing as Spanish and EU EEA citizens in the job search?
Well, I mean, the visa requirements for the job seeker visa or the work permit, for example, it simply gives you the access to that type of visa. I mean, there are specific requirements, and I'm sure as you already have the background of a few years studying on higher visa, then there is like a straightforward way to obtain these visas. For example, job seeker visa gives you the opportunity to keep looking for a job position from this higher education that you graduated from, and it gives you a year to give you the opportunity to find a job that's related to your position that you want to keep growing in your career.
Okay, and then from that, assuming you find a job, you would be on a temporary work permit until up to maybe 5 years when you could get permanent residency.
5 years if you can get permanent residency if you're from US, for example, but for Ibero-American countries. But for Ibero-American countries, it's 2 years. But we need to keep in mind that student visas do not count this time for the citizenship. For the permanent EU residency, it does count only 50%. However, it does not count time for example, if you're studying 3 years and for Ibero-American countries, you need to be 2 years here. Unfortunately, your study time won't be counting for the citizenship. When you are on work permit, then that's different. But student visa, unfortunately, would not be the route.
Yeah, that's a very good additional clarification to have, because a lot of people, particularly from the Ibero-American countries, it is a very fast track way to citizenship, to an EU citizenship. But yeah, it might change someone's plans or how they look at things if they have to then find a way to stay in Spain after their
yes,
work or
unfortunately,
their study visa. Sorry,
unfortunately, this is a very common situation that many people reach out to us with the idea to study and then exchange for the citizenship, but unfortunately, this is not possible.
Yeah. And it's on that same principle, everyone else who is entitled to maybe, 10 years, those 2 years won't count towards the 10 years.
But it's important to highlight because, unfortunately, that changes a lot of plans for many families.
Yeah, exactly. Something that people from maybe the US and the UK might be interested in knowing is these two countries, they obviously have a very big kind of college or university student lifestyle attached to the experience of studying. Is there a similar experience here in Spain? From my experience studying in France, the student lifestyle in Europe is very different to what it is in kind of the US and the UK. How is it in Spain?
Well, I have to say that it's quite colorful, so to say. I mean, here the community of the students is very, very vivid. And I remember when I was like teenager and I didn't go to high school yet, I always saw the students like all around the city. And this is not only the biggest cities like Madrid, Barcelona, or Valencia. I grew up, like I was in Gandia, which is a really smaller city near Valencia. So students, like they have their own events, parties, but not only like the typical parties, like the events to kind of like enjoy the culture, to go to restaurants, to find out like details about the Spanish culture. And I feel like it's really, really, it gives you the full experience, not only studying at the university, for example, but it gives you more insight on what it is to be a Spanish, because it mixes the Spanish students with the abroad students. I hope this answers the question.
Definitely, definitely, yes. It's very kind of, there's opportunities for people to integrate, enjoy that student lifestyle, get the experience. More within a collective, I would say, in that respect, like you've got friendship groups, societies and stuff, whereas in the UK and the US, it's very much about, this university, I go there, represent it. But there's a bit less of that in Europe, from my perspective.
Yes, I don't think like I have to say like I haven't experienced that, but definitely there's like a big friendship between the students, and not only the typical partying or whatever, but really the cultural side of enjoying what it means to be a Spanish or living in Spain, and Spanish culture is really like consuming you in its own way.
Yeah, that's nice. Great. Okay, and maybe just to finish off, so how can Bureaucracy help someone looking for a student visa in Spain? What services and support do you offer?
Well, our main goal is to make sure that your visa is to bring it to the end in the detail and to avoid any delays. Here I have to say, very important thing is that there is a timeline on the student visa. So by law, it does say that we need to apply for the visa at least 2 months before your studies start. We are not sure what is the response or what could be the response from the consulates if we apply later than that. There is no consulates have their own way and they have the final saying, so we cannot measure that, but it's important. So we would help you to gather the documents. We can refer you to for the insurance companies, and basically do every little step and give you all the instructions that you need to gather all the documents and to submit the visa at the consulate.
Okay, great. Yeah, and you've got nice visual dashboards within the website as well, on the platform, that helps people follow their process as well.
And as well, just to add, the translations, which is a thing that I think many people struggle, or at least they see it overwhelming. Where should I find a translator? How much it will cost, and so on. So you don't have to worry about that, because we have our translators and we will take care of that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. Sabine, this was a really insightful discussion. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure the viewers as well watching found it very helpful and useful.
Thank you, Jonny, for inviting me. Just to add that anyone who is only thinking about studying in Spain, they can write us an email and find us on our website and just ask us questions on any considerations that they may have, and mostly I am going to get back at them with any answers that I can give them, and allow them feel a bit more calmer about the process.
Great. Thank you, Sabine. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video and find it helpful, guys. If you're interested in working with Bureaucracy for them to help you apply for your Spanish student visa, then be sure to check out the link in the video description, where you'll get 10% off as a Millennials with Money viewer. Leave a comment and let me know if you're interested in studying in Spain. What would you study? Or let me know if you have been a student in Spain in the past as well. And if you like that video and you want to see more videos related to life in Spain, then be sure to check out these two videos here. Till next time, I'll see you on the next one, and let's get this money.